mathematics, geometry, woo, sound, light, action. It's all, you know, it's all geometry, right? Do we agree on that? This is, thank you all for coming. Wow, and braving the smoke. This is amazing for you to be here. Thank you. All right. We're very familiar with this term, sacred geometry, and we recognize designs when we see them. We recognize them immediately. Why? What is it that these designs have in common that we just immediately, intuitively go, oh, right, sacred geometry. What's common to all these five sacred geometry designs? They all know center.
Totally symmetric.
They're symmetric, right. They all know center and they're balanced. There's a symmetry to them.
They have common unity.
Right. They all hold a symmetry that feels organizing. Yeah, and balancing. Even, you know, they can be organizing around the entire circle or they can be bilaterally organizing. But what they all have is the center. They all know the center point. Now this is all the geometry you really need tonight. This is the point, you know. This is the 0 point. This is you. Think of this as you, where everything returns and is aligned. But you know, if you were to actually really zoom into that point, you would see that the point is a fractal of a larger whole. This symbol is called the circumpunct. You know, the circumference punctured, you know, it sounds like that. I think language is all code, and I mean, clearly it's code, actually, and I'm going to go into some of that tonight, because I think it's really fascinating. So this symbol is used as the symbol of the sun in astrology, and you know, the sun is the center around which all the planets are circumnavigating, right? So that it's very clear. It means, in symbology, you know, we can think of it as all or nothing, the whole, the all, the nothingness. And you're in the very center of it. You're in the center of it. This is you. Did you know that mathematically it's been proven that I actually am the center of the universe? You know, I told my mother this, but you know, she just didn't believe it. But it's really actually true. When the scientists were looking to, you know, Einstein got a little crazy with this when Hubble found out that this universe is expanding, and Einstein didn't want to believe it, but he was shown the evidence, and so the scientists then wanted to say, well, if it's expanding, from where is it expanding? Where is the center? And when they did the math and they rolled the clock backwards, they found out that the center is right there. You know, you're the center of the universe. Oh my God, you know, and it kind of makes sense. You know, it's like if you know, with the Big Bang theory, maybe it wasn't a big bang, maybe it was a big orgasm, actually. I like that better. The big birth, let's say. But everything was supposedly in an infinitesimally small point altogether. So we were all one big happy family in that infinitely small point. We were there. We were all at center. And so it's an omnicentric universe in its expansion. It's omnicentric. This is one of those little things that blows me away. So it's right where you are. Center of the universe is right where you are. Now, as Colette said, I do run the Bay Area Crop Circle Study Group. And I think the crop circles are counsel. I think they're here to kind of remind us of something really important about the universe. And this is a really early one. And they're kind of giving us a primer on what we need to really know in order to be good galactic citizens in the universe again. We need to kind of come back to this. And they always will show, they might do something really simple, but they add a little detail. For instance, like this one, that is sitting right next to this interesting circle. It's obviously referencing the same thing that's in the landscape. There's a church in the middle of it. What does the church mean? It means your connection to the higher self. You know, whether you, doesn't matter. I mean, we use this as the symbology, right? So they're showing us that it's relating to something much more hyperdimensional, much more dimensional. So these symbols are two-dimensional projections of higher dimensional geometry. Okay, so this basic geometry, it holds all the knowledge, right? It represents oneness, but it also is holding all number. For instance, it's got the number 2 in it. I mean, it clearly has the number 2 in it, right? You have a center and an edge. You know, it's got two-ness, even though it represents oneness. It has an inside and an outside. You know, we are immediately faced with separation. You know, separation in a world where we're supposed to be one, that's a challenge. And I think that's actually part of our being human, is how do we understand how to be in separation in this world? You know, you can think of this as self and other, for instance. That would be one way to look at it. So, when, before I was born, probably most of us went through this, before we were born, you know, we were talking to our guides and angels on the other side, and we're like, oh God, do I really have to do this again? And they somehow convinced us that there was going to be a good lifetime to do, you know, and this, you know, you get to go and, you know, you get to have a body that looks like this, it functions well, you get to be an earthling, you get to be, oh my God, you get to be in the 2000, the era of 2000 where the planet's going to go through this major shift. It's going to be a really big adventure, you know. And somehow we, you know, we closed our eyes and we signed the contract, right? And then we contracted. We contracted from the all and we descended into being a who. So this vertical line, this is what I want to first propose, is that this vertical descent is our agreement to become a who, okay? And there's a purpose in doing this, you know? This is actually, it's a really great opportunity. It's actually a real luxury that we don't have to absorb the whole universe. It's a really big universe, you know? And we get to do just a little subset. You know, we get to just be on planet Earth. And planet Earth's been very kind of isolated for a long time from the rest of the everything. You know, we've been very myopic here. And we're at this edge right now where that seems to be like there are holes being poked in the edge here. And in order for us to be able to get past the boundary condition of Earthling, it means we have to really, really know what it is that we're doing here. And I think part of this, that you know, this challenge of being human, I think it's a real challenge, but it's also a real luxury, is this doing of subsets. The subsets are harmonic. So, you know, for instance, we're all doing the human subset in this room. Well, the lemons are doing the lemon subset, but we're doing the human subset, right? But I'm doing a subset that's different from your subset, right? I mean, you look around, we're really different. You know, you look nothing like me, you know? We're really, really different. So, but there are certain common denominators that we all share. You know, we're all doing the human thing. I've got a head. We all got heads. You know, 2 arms, 2 legs. You know, there's, even if, you know, for some reason you got born without a limb or something, still the human template is still part of your design. And then, you know, there's all these other harmonics that we do. We all know the Sonoma landscape, for instance, that are enculturated, all these different harmonics that get enculturated. And they're harmonic. We know them through these pulsing geometries that get embedded in us. We understand them that way. So I'm going to go into that a little bit. Okay. Whew. So we came down in, and then we start to go, okay, where are we? Where am I? And I start to focus into the edge somewhere. You know, I start to focus in the horizontal. You know, maybe it's mother. Maybe it's even just my body. You know, we know we are not this. Maybe some of us know that we're not this body. This body is just my vehicle that I'm doing here. Even my personality is not who I really am. So, who I really am before I was born, you know, it had all the oneness, and now I've agreed to just experience the subset. And that includes, in my first relationship, is this body. This is even closer than mother. This is first relationship. If I can understand how to have a decent relationship with my being, I've got a lot of clues then about how to have a good relationship with other people. You know, it's really important. This is the development that happens as we grow into this realm. Okay. So, you know, it means meeting other. And, you know, there's a crop circle. Most of these crop circles that I'm showing are really old. This was, I think, in 1987. So I feel, you know, a self meeting another. And it's different. Other is different. Oh, by the way, this photograph actually had a black helicopter in it, and there's the shadow. And so, you know, that's all very interesting.
And Marién, is this England too? Because the car's driving on the left side of the road.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It was in England, yeah. Okay, so self and other. Me and not me. So as we begin to focus into this realm, me and not me, what happens is I begin to notice polarities. I notice opposites. I notice this and that. That is not that, you know? So this understanding of an opposite, this diameter, it describes a whole subject. Anytime you get a diameter of a circle, that diameter is, the circle can't go any smaller than that opposite diameter. You know, that yes, no, you can put anything on the ends of the diameter there. But you get this one subject matter, you could call it. It's a realm of exploration that is going to have all kinds of different angles that it can be explored from. So now we're talking about polarities, and okay. So back to the crop circles. This is a really interesting one. This was in the same field as the one with two that I showed you just a moment ago. This was just a couple days later, and suddenly, you know, the two-ness, it understands that there's an opposite on the other side. And this triptych arrangement is something that's been used dozens and dozens of times in various different ways in the crop circles. And then what they did, it seems very simple. Now, I just want to point out that, that this circle is swirled this way, this circle is swirled this way, and this circle is swirled counter to that. But then, what happened, a couple days later, I don't know how many days later, but a few days later, it got revisited. This is the same design. This got revisited. Some extra energy got put in it, and it got expanded just a little bit. This one, the grass got pulled up and reoriented into the other direction, so that all three of, oops, sorry. Oh, I didn't mean to do that, hold on. button, so that all three of the circles were actually now swirled in the same direction. So that it became more harmonic, probably. I mean, that's actually a really rare occurrence that happened in the crop circles, but there it was a long time ago. Oops, wait a minute. That's not the one, hold on. Oh, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Okay, now I know what I'm doing. All right, here we go. So, here's another one, another old one. So, you know, here we have, oops, doing the wrong button. This is what I'm going to do. So here we have the triptych. And now we can see that each side is starting to see that it has ways that it can be opposed. That, like, you know, if we take a subject, I should have come up with subjects before I did the talk. Well, we can even do like colors, like green and red. They're on opposite sides of the color wheel, right? So here, though, this green, let's say, is understanding blue and yellow. And this red here is understanding that it's got orange and, what's on the other side of red? Purple. Orange and purple over here. So, you know, and they start to see the arc develop between that kind of polarity. So it starts to get very fractalized, and we're gonna come back to that kind of thing later in this talk. Okay. So we're back to seeing polarities. Now, if you take that polarity and you put it vertically, I mean, what do you feel when you look at this?
It's like aspirin.
I didn't hear.
It looks like aspirin.
It looks like what?
Aspirin.
Aspirin. That's interesting. Here, let's try looking at it this way without this.
It feels divided.
It feels divisive. Yes, exactly. So, you know, just coming into center, that's one thing. But when you put it all the way down, you know, you think of yourself as a polarized being, you know, it does start to get divisive. So,
An axis to me.
what?
It looks like an axis.
An axis, yes. Okay, we're going to get back to that though. So let's keep that in mind. We're coming back to that. So this is actually dividing the whole. So we've bisected the reality and relating the polarity to the self. So that starts to get emotional in tone, right? The polarities really become like yes, no, or like, does not like, or love, hate, and it tends to create this, where you choose one side over the other. We tend to get polarized towards one side, right? And which is interesting. Now we start coming into code, and we start to see how I see. I think we're surrounded by code, particularly in language. Obviously, language is code. So, what letter is this? It's the letter D, obviously. And what are words that are commonly start with D? You know, we have divide, we have decide, we have disown, we have all the dis words, you know, they all start with D. What?
Dog.
Dog.
How about death?
Death? Yes, for instance, death. I don't know about dog. Well, it's just gone back. So, but you know, actually, conversely, it is paradoxical that the word divine also starts with a D, but that has the letter V in it. It's and I see the V. I'll just give you a little piece. I see the V as a very feminine letter, and it's like unifying to the opposites into the one again. So we've got the dissing of reality, but then we also have the reunion of it, and in the word divine, and that may have something to do with why that word is as it is. So, back to seeing polarities. This is seeing a polarity in relationship to the self, but not polarizing the self. This is actually balancing the self. This is like understanding, okay, I know that I'm standing in a polarized world, And this is actually going to help me balance here. So then what's this, right? Okay, well, this is different. And this figure also has been used in crop circles hundreds of times in various forms. You will find this. This is a really old one. This is almost exactly like what we were just looking at. It even has the cross through the middle. And we have this one where it's got this one arc that's starting to connect the two dots that are on the side. So how I see this design is that this is orientation into this horizontal realm. This is where the center becomes an axis in another direction. If you flatten this whole, take this, right now we're seeing it vertically, but put it down, flatten the whole thing, and you get a north, south, east, west. You get an orientation into the horizontal plane, and that's actually really helpful. The fact that the crop circles have done that over and over and over again. They want us to know where we are in this reality. They want us to be able to orient. So this is the relationship of who we are to where we are. Okay, you've got the vertical and you've got the horizontal, right? And of course you have the medicine wheel that includes 7 directions actually. It's got the north, south, east, west, above, below, and within. So it's including the horizontal represented in something that's flat. So it's 3 axes, right? We have who. Here's another way to look at it. So you've got who you are. This axis that comes across your body is where you are. I can go all around me and with these creative pieces that I have sticking out of me and deal with everything that's where I am. And then this third axis, this front-back one, is when I am. It's the one that I can walk around in time. And these generally move, on this, this part of it, these generally move in front back. I mean, I can dance side to side, but it's, it might be a little clumsy. So it's generally that. So who, where, and when. But there's one more axis that we exist in, and this is where it can start to get dimensional, which is the in-out. It's compression and expansion. That's another polar axis, and it's a 360 kind of axis. It's actually 360 cubed. It's in all directions, right? This in-out. And you can also think of it as gravity, or actually, in science, there really isn't an opposite of gravity. You can think of it as radiance, or you can think of it as levity, gravity and levity. I was looking it up. One definition said the opposite of gravity is hilarity. But this axis is about how we are. We have the new World Wide Web, which is the www of who, where, and when. But then we have how we are. And that's really determining how we're balancing along all of our axes. How far out am I willing to expand into who I am? How far out am I willing to go into where I am, Or do I need to contract and protect something internally with how I'm doing here? Am I moving too fast in my when? Do I need to slow it down, So this is where it starts to get really dynamic.